The earliest conversation I had about Rogue Nation was with Tom when we were making Edge of Tomorrow. We'd had a very long discussion about story.
Chris and I have the same sensibility in storytelling and the same love of films and the same kind of movies. He and I spent a lot of time discussing this franchise, and he knows it inside and out. I'm fortunate that I get to do exactly what my dream was, is to make movies. And
Okay, so what makes a franchise successful? Back in the mid-2000s, if you asked that question, you'd probably get a chorus of voices yelling, "Follow the MCU's playbook." And if you dug even deeper into the time vault, folks would likely tell you to follow Disney's playbook. Now I get why those answers would be very common back then. Disney has been an absolute money-making machine, bloating out content after content after content after content. They've gone from making standalone movies to TV shows, creating an empire of entertainment. It's quite literally the biggest entertainment company in history. It was a major player in the incredible success of the MCU. But the Mouse House's influence on franchises isn't always a good thing. It hasn't been a good thing for a long time. I'd even argue the MCU's reliance on Disney also became its kryptonite, just like many other franchises under the House of Mouse's umbrella. While some franchises were left to wither away in neglect, others managed to squeeze out a few bucks, but still face a ton of issues creatively. Disney went from being innovators and creators to glorified copycats, just with more money. Take Star Wars, one of the most divisive IPs in the history of divisive IPs. Disney's Star Wars content has been like a lightning rod for controversy, causing more splits in the fan base than a karate chop through a brick wall. I mean, to say there's been mixed reactions to their version of Star Wars would be a massive understatement. Even the Indiana Jones franchise was on life support, and Disney forgot to pay the electricity bill. It was already heading nowhere fast, and then along came the Dial of Destiny to deliver the final blow. It's the same with Toy Story, the money-making machine that never failed to bring in the big bucks. But for the first time ever, a Toy Story movie actually lost money. Yep, the toys couldn't even keep their cash cow status intact. So following Disney's playbook might have seemed like the best way to success back in the days, but times have changed. It's no longer as easy as copying and pasting their formula. You need to handle things properly, have some creative direction, and most importantly, understand what the audience wants. It's a whole new game now, where handling, creativity, and knowing your audience are the MVPs, not just relying on dials and nostalgia to keep their franchises alive. Forget those theories about long-running franchises fading away into nothingness. Mission Impossible has proven them all wrong through innovation, commitment, and a good story.
Whoa. Are you okay to drive? A minute ago you were dead. What are you talking about? This is not going to end well.
It becomes its character, its story, and it becomes immersive for an audience.
Well, my original vision for the film was to take all four of the films that came before it and lay them on top of one another and look for the holes.
with the mission and storytelling, there are certain things that you can get away with and a leap that you can make structurally with storytelling that the audience wants.
The Mission Impossible series is quite the gift that keeps on giving. It's like that Energizer Bunny of movie franchises, just keeps going and going, and it's been around for 27 years. The first film came out in 1996, helmed by Brian De Palma.
And there was Brian De Palma. I just went, oh my gosh, that he's got to direct Mission Impossible.
It introduced us to the legendary Ethan Hunt played by Tom Cruise, the guy who takes go big or go home quite literally. Even back then, he was doing his own stunts, because why not risk life and limb when you can do it in front of a camera, right? That first film had it all: a compelling plot, great action sequences, and a rich supporting cast. Together, they laid the foundation for a franchise that would dominate the box office for years to come. Then, in 2000, John Woo decided to take the reins for the sequel. And yes, he did crank up the volume on the action. Cruise hopped on motorcycles, pulled off death-defying stunts, and got involved in some mind-blowing hand-to-hand combat. Fast forward to 2006, and J.J. Abrams stepped up to direct Mission Impossible 3. Now this was Abrams' first time helming a feature film, and I gotta say, he didn't mess it up. Thank God for that. He went into Hunt's personal life, introducing us to his wife Julia, and added a new layer of depth to the series. I actually appreciate Abrams injecting a fresh energy into the franchise. Too bad he couldn't do the same with Star Wars. But in MI3, he managed to balance intense action with emotional storytelling, which became a trademark of the later movies. It's like, hey, let's blow some stuff up, but also make you care about the characters. It's a simple, but winning formula. Brad Bird, already renowned for his animation expertise, joined the team for Ghost Protocol in 2011. Till date, Ghost Protocol is still the only live-action film he's ever directed. And of course, he brought his A-game. This installment once again pushed the boundaries of action filmmaking. After that, Christopher McQuarrie, who had previously worked with Cruise on Jack Reacher, took over the director's chair for the next 4 films. McQuarrie is my favorite director in the franchise. He has this talent for crafting complex and tightly woven narratives while still delivering exhilarating action set pieces. The stunts in Fallout were already pushing the limits, with some of them being borderline deadly. But guess what? They somehow managed to raise the bar in Dead Reckoning, when they had Hunt literally drive a bike off a cliff. With each new installment, the Mission Impossible franchise somehow manages to reinvent itself while staying true to its core elements, which I think is very important. While we all want something new and daring in our films, I think it's crucial to retain the principles that have become so ingrained in the franchise.
Go, go, go! What the? She tried to shoot me!
Doesn't make her a bad person.
If we make our audience care about the characters, we are able to hopefully make a film that resonates beyond the action that's happening on screen.
Some people, they want the action, so we give them, the action is there, or they want the intrigue, or they want the journey of traveling to different places. So Mission has all of those elements. It has the twists and turns, so it's not just action, it's got story.
Much like John Wick, Mission Impossible found a very good balance between action and lore. John Wick really hit the bullseye when it comes to finding that sweet spot. I mean, who would have thought a guy avenging his dog's death would turn into such an epic saga?
It was just a fucking car, just a fucking dog.
It was the ultimate dog lover's revenge fantasy. And I think it got a lot of that from Mission Impossible.
In a musical, the 2 characters are in love, and there's a progression of story with each number when it's done really well. I feel the same way with action sequences, and
We know Tom Cruise is the action hero equivalent of a superhero. Hanging from planes, jumping off buildings, just doing crazy stunts like he's got a secret deal with gravity or something.
And it was after he did the one where he ran around the building. I go, can you tell me how that happened? I mean, he's a really intense guy, he's like, yeah, I'll tell you how it happened. He's like, so, he goes, I've been thinking about this shot for 15 years. I go to the safety guy, and I lay it all out. Safety guy goes, you can't do that. It's too dangerous, you can't do that. So I get a new safety guy.
But they managed to balance all these with a very consistent lore woven into a pretty good storyline. They've got characters that are more than just cardboard cutouts. They've got depth, they've got layers. You actually care about what happens to them. It's not just mindless action, it's mind-blowing action with heart.
A character-based franchise. You care about Ethan Hunt. You care about the team around him.
that kind of chemistry that McHugh and I wanted with those characters is very alive. It's fun to watch.
The characters' motivations are so clear and well developed that you never have to scratch your head and wonder why they are doing what they are doing. Unlike some other franchises, where sometimes the characters seem to have more personality changes than a chameleon on a disco dance floor, I often find myself scratching my head and going, wait a minute, would this character actually do that? It's like they've put all their eggs in the explosion basket and forgot about giving these folks some logical decision-making skills. I mean, don't get me wrong, big booms and epic battles are totally awesome, but if the characters feel as fake as a toupee in a hurricane, and their actions make no sense, it's a buzzkill. Mission Impossible finds the balance. Every character feels genuine, like they've got their heads screwed on tight, and their choices make sense within the confines of who they are and what they believe in. With some of these characters, you're on the edge of your seat, but you're also emotionally invested because you care about them and their journey.
He's evolved, Ethan. He is not necessarily fearless. He's not a superhero. He's very human, but will go to any extent to help others.
It's a rare gem in a sea of mindless blockbuster explosions, and I can't help but respect it for that. I mean, I can respect the franchise for a lot of things they didn't do, like the trend of taking beloved legacy characters and just smash them to bits. I could imagine them doing it to Ethan Hunt, giving him the old Indiana Jones and Luke Skywalker treatment, but they didn't, which is already a plus in my book. Ethan might not have reached the same level of iconic status as those two legends, but he's still a fan favorite, so turning him into this beaten-up, weathered version of his former self and then kicking him to the curb for some fresh-faced replacement would be a travesty of epic proportions. Thankfully, the writers have had the good sense to handle Ethan's character with the utmost respect throughout the years. They've shielded him from the storm of changing trends and the politically toxic climate, and that's something truly remarkable to witness in the modern age.
Would you like to watch a movie?
Oh, no, thank you.
Would you consider the cinema of the Caribbean?
And we explain, you guys want something fantastic, we have it. We are going to put Ethan Hunt 144 floors outside the building, and we're going to do one of the greatest stunt sequences ever.
There are so many aspects to appreciate and discuss about Mission Impossible. We could easily dive into the practical stunts and those adrenaline-pumping high-octane action sequences. Even the way they consistently push the boundaries of technology, constantly scaling up the action with each new installment.
So we had to develop a gimbal system flying along with Tom. You had cameras hanging off of both sides being operated in a helicopter.
All of that is undeniably valid and exciting to talk about, but for me, it's the way it manages to maintain such a consistent tone throughout the years. It's nothing short of breathtaking. Think about it. This franchise has been around for quite a while now, and yet it's managed to adapt to the changing times and evolving preferences of the audience, all while staying true to its roots. And that's not an easy thing to do in the ever-shifting landscape of the film industry. I mean, take a look at Marvel and DC. They're juggernauts in the superhero genre, but even they haven't quite mastered the art of maintaining a consistent tone like Mission Impossible has. The Tom Cruise factor could also be one of the best things about this franchise. The man puts himself in the heart of danger for the sake of delivering the most authentic and thrilling experience to the audience.
I hope to have a film and to make movies so that they could be watched 5 years, 10 years, and still an audience, if I've done my job right, it still communicates to them and they're still entertained by it.
His commitment to the craft and his passion for pushing the limits of what's possible on screen is unparalleled. With all this buzz about those mega-budget movies flopping at the box office, people think audiences have had enough of Hollywood. Mission Impossible are like a breath of fresh air. They're proving that fans just want some good entertainment without any nagging lectures or feeling like villains for not subscribing to a specific political agenda. It's actually a relief to see these films giving the middle finger to the status quo and giving us what we really crave as moviegoers. It's like a rebel yell from the big screen, telling the snooty critics and preachy studios to take a chill pill and remember what movies are all about: having a good time. These movies are the heroes we need, reminding us that it's okay to just sit back, munch on some popcorn, and escape reality for a couple of hours.
No matter which Mission Impossible film you're watching, you're in for the ride of your life.